Did you know the ocean covers 70% of Earth's surface? It contains about 1.35 billion cubic kilometers of water, which is about 97% of all the water on Earth. The ocean makes all life on Earth possible and makes the planet appear blue when viewed from space. Earth is the only planet in our solar system that is definitely known to contain liquid water. Although the ocean is one continuous body of water, oceanographers have divided it into five principal areas: the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Arctic, and Southern Oceans. The Atlantic, Indian, and Pacific Oceans merge into the icy waters around Antarctica. As the largest ocean, the Pacific Ocean constitutes roughly 46% and covers more than a third of the total surface area. This fact makes the Pacific Ocean larger than the landmass area on the Earth's surface combined. It extends to about 162 million square kilometers, and it also has the longest shoreline that totals to approximately 135,000 kilometers. The Atlantic Ocean is the second largest ocean in the world by covering the area of 106 million square kilometers. It is surrounded by America in the west and Europe and Africa in the east. This ocean consists of the Mediterranean Sea, Caribbean Sea, the Baltic Sea, and the Gulf of Mexico. Similar to the Pacific Ocean, the equator divides the ocean into the North Atlantic Ocean and the South Atlantic Ocean. The Indian Ocean is the third largest ocean on the planet, with an expansion of about 73 million square kilometers. The Antarctic Ocean has an area of about 20 million square kilometers, and it is the fourth largest ocean. Since its location is next to the South Pole, people often refer to the Antarctic Ocean as the Southern Ocean. The Antarctic Ocean commonly experiences cyclone-like storms that result from the stark contrast between the ice packs and the ocean waves. These storms move eastward around the continent and often become extreme because of the temperature contrast between ice and open ocean. Since these storms have the strongest winds found anywhere on Earth, they are very harsh for many sailors or marine vessels that happen to pass their path. Did you know that the Arctic Ocean is the shallowest and smallest of all the oceans in the Earth? It covers the area of about 14 million square kilometers, and it mostly lies in the Arctic Circle. Most of the Arctic Ocean is in the Arctic North Polar region in the middle of the Northern Hemisphere and makes the Arctic Ocean almost completely surrounded by Eurasia and North America. Also, the surface temperature of the Arctic Ocean is relatively constant. It typically stays around the freezing point of seawater. The Arctic Ocean belongs to the polar climate, which is characterized by persistent cold and comparatively narrow annual temperature changes. You probably already know that the ocean plays a vital role in climate and weather. The sun's heat causes water to evaporate, adding moisture to the air. The oceans provide most of this evaporated water. The water vapor then condenses to form clouds, which release their moisture as rain or other kinds of precipitation. All life on Earth depends on this process. which you probably remember. It is known as the water cycle. Because water absorbs and loses heat more slowly than land masses, the ocean helps balance global temperatures by absorbing heat in the summer and releasing it in the winter. Without the ocean to help regulate global temperatures, Earth's climate would be bitterly cold. Did you know that scientists began mapping the ocean floor in the 1920s? They used instruments called echo sounders, which measure water depths using sound waves. Echo sounders use what's known as sonar technology. Sonar is an acronym for sound, navigation, and ranging. The sonar showed that the ocean floor has dramatic physical features such as huge mountains, deep canyons, steep cliffs, and wide plains. So, the ocean's crust is a thin layer of volcanic rock called basalt. The ocean floor is divided into several different areas. The first is the continental shelf, the nearly flat and underwater extension of a continent. At the outer edge of the continental shelf, the land drops off sharply in what is called the continental slope. This slope descends almost to the bottom of the ocean, and then it tapers off into a gentler slope, which is known as the continental rise. The continental rise descends to the deep ocean floor, which is called the abyssal plain. Rising from the abyssal plains in each major ocean is a huge chain of mostly undersea mountains. These mountains are called the mid-ocean ridge, and this chain circles the Earth, stretching more than 64,000 kilometers. Some areas of the ocean floor have deep, narrow depressions called ocean trenches. These are the deepest parts of the ocean. The deepest spot of all is the Challenger Deep, which lies in the Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean near the island of Guam. Its true depth is not known, but the most accurate measurements put the Challenger Deep at 11,000 meters below the ocean surface. That's more than 2,000 meters taller than Mount Everest, Earth's highest point. The pressure in the Challenger Deep is about 8 tons per square inch. Did you know that there are hundreds of thousands of marine species which range from microscopic algae to the largest creature to have ever lived on Earth, the blue whale? The ocean has 5 major life zones, each with organisms uniquely adapted to their specific marine ecosystem. A new form of life based on chemical energy rather than light energy resides in deep-sea hydrothermal vents along the mid-ocean ridges. The blue whale, the largest animal on our planet ever, still lives in the ocean. Its heart is the side of a Volkswagen vehicle. And did you know the gray whale migrates more than 10,000 miles each year, the longest migration of any mammal? And lastly, when we talk about life, we can't forget about the Great Barrier Reef. The Great Barrier Reef measures 1,243 miles, and it is the largest living structure on Earth. It can actually be seen from the moon. While talking about oceans, we can't forget about ocean currents. Currents are streams of water running through a larger body of water. Oceans, rivers, and streams all have currents. The ocean's salinity and temperature and the coast's geographic features determine an ocean current's behavior. Earth's rotation and wind also influence ocean currents. Currents flowing near the surface transport heat from the tropics to the poles and move cooler water back toward the equator. This keeps the ocean from becoming extremely hot or cold. Deep, cold currents transport oxygen to organisms throughout the ocean. They also carry rich supplies of nutrients that all living things need. And these nutrients come from plankton and the remains of other organisms that drift down and decay on the ocean floor. Along some coasts, winds and currents produce a phenomenon called upwelling. As winds push surface water away from the shore, deep currents of cold water rise to take its place. This upwelling of deep water brings up nutrients that nourish new growth of plankton, providing food for fish. Ocean food chains constantly recycle food and energy this way. Some ocean currents are enormous and extremely powerful, and one of the most powerful and most well-known is the Gulf Stream, a warm surface current that originates in the tropical Caribbean Sea and flows northeast along the eastern coast of the United States. The Gulf Stream measures up to 80 kilometers wide and is more than a kilometer deep. For thousands of years, people have depended on the ocean as a source of food and for trade and exploration. Today, people continue to travel on the ocean and rely on the resources it contains. Did you know that more than 90% of the trade between countries is carried by ships, and about half the communication between nations use underwater cables? Nations continue to negotiate how to determine the extent of their territory beyond their coasts. The UN's Law of the Sea Treaty established exclusive economic zones extending 200 nautical miles, or 230 miles, beyond a nation's coastline. Languages and religions. Important ports in the U.S. are New York, New Jersey, and New Orleans. The busiest ports around the world include the Port of Shanghai and the Port of Rotterdam in the Netherlands. Ocean ports are also important for a nation's armed forces. Some ports are used exclusively for military purposes, although most share space with commercial businesses. You have probably heard of the phrase, "the sun never sets on the British Empire." It is a phrase that is used to explain the scope of the Empire of Great Britain, mostly in the 19th century. Although based on the small European island nation of Great Britain, British military sea power extended its empire from Africa to the Americas, Asia, and Australia. I hope you have found this information relaxing, and until next time, goodbye.